What's up, y'all? It's your man Stephen Bartle coming at you with another edition, a special edition of Bartle's Breakdown. I got my man. Let me give you his government name, Alton Dorian Clark, but he goes by Dorian Group 82. Dorian, how you doing today, bro?
I'm doing awesome, man. I haven't been called Alton since I got out of coaching, so I appreciate that, though.
Well, all right, I'm gonna stick with Dorian then. Ladies and gentlemen, I got a talented brother here, man. He's got a great background, but let him talk about that. He's got a background in basketball. He's in music now. He's doing big things. I think you guys will enjoy this as much as I've enjoyed getting to know Dorian. So, Dorian, can you take people through your upbringing, because it's a little unusual in terms of your dad was in the service. Which branch was that?
Yeah, so he was in the Air Force.
Okay.
So my parents are from Dayton, Ohio. Y'all around the same age. So you remember at that time funk bands and Lakeside and Bootsy Collins, and that's what I grew up on.
Okay.
But my dad, he was in the military, so that my parents had me when they were 22 and 21 respectively. They already had my sister. So we moved all over the world. So I was born in Texas. I moved to Japan for 4 years, to California. Then we moved back to Dayton, where I was around my media family for about 5 years, and then I moved to Indiana. So during that upbringing, the one thing that was it for me was I was always the new kid everywhere that I went. And so the one thing that kept me connected to people was sports, right? Because my dad was really into basketball. My uncle's into basketball. This was the time of the early 90s. So the Bulls, my family was huge Bulls fans. So I was able to gravitate with sports. And when you are a middle-class Black kid, but you grow up on military bases all over the world, you don't really understand Black culture like that until I got thrown into Dayton, Ohio, Dayton public schools, the inner city. I was like, oh, okay, this is how we get down. But basketball was like that equalizer. Like it was like, okay, he might not talk like us yet, but he can hoop. You know what I mean? So that just made me fall in love with the game. And then when I was in sixth grade, my dad took a job in Indiana, so we moved to Indianapolis. In Indiana, Big Ten, Hoosiers, basketball is all I knew. And so, that was everything for me. But I'm built like a football player, so I really didn't have the opportunity. You're really into basketball. So, I went to North Central High School. So we got guys, Eric Gordon and Chris Wilkes, and a lot of guys that have went and just played pro overseas. So if you 5'6", 150 as a freshman, you like a Charles Barkley, it's just not going to happen for you at North Central. So I learned really early that basketball was not going to be in the cards of me playing. But I didn't know what I wanted to do. And so I went to IU. I went to college down there, kicked it, had the time of my life. And when I was down there, I was trying to do everything else, man. I was a psychology major, and I want to be into computers, just trying to figure out what I wanted to do. But I just love basketball, man. And the great thing about me going to IU was it's such a massive school, and there's so many people from all walks of life. And Quinn Buckner's son, Corey Buckner, was there with me. And that's my guy. We used to hoop just all the time. And I was telling him just one day, I'm just trying to get in some way, somehow. And I didn't really know who Quinn Buckner was, because I'll be honest, growing up, I wasn't an IU basketball fan. I didn't like him. I like Michigan. I like Fab Five. I like Georgetown, Allen Iverson. I wasn't with them like that. And so I didn't really know who Quinn was. And Corey was like, man, my dad works for the Pacers. I was like, okay, cool. You can connect me. That would be great. He did. I got an internship with the Pacers under Quinn for a summer. And it just opened my eyes every day, walking into Casico Fieldhouse at the time and just seeing everything that was possible if I really work hard. And so that completely shifted gears. So then I was like, you know what? I'm going to go into coaching, right? Can't be that hard to get into NBA coaching. So I started, this is when Wikipedia had first dropped. So I went to Wikipedia, and I went to every conference in college basketball, D1 and D2. And I would go to their athletic website. I would go to the staff directory. I would go to the ops guy. And I emailed every single one. And I went from D1 to D2. I got one email back from Lees McRae College in Banner Elk, North Carolina, Scott Polsgrove. He said, yeah, you can come down here and be a volunteer assistant. We can find you somewhere to live. We can get you some meals. I was like, okay, cool. So I went down there. I coached for a year. We went 2-29. We were terrible. But I loved it, because at the time, you got to remember, this was the recession. I was working at Sprint. I was a bouncer at a nightclub. Like, it was just like, it was a really dark time for our generation. And so the fact that I was just getting a chance to coach basketball, I loved it. And then I applied to graduate school, University of Central Florida, got in, was supposed to be the GA down there. I'm not going to throw any coaches under the bus. Let's just say that didn't happen. And through divine intervention, so my last name's Clark. In our graduate program, they had us seated alphabetically. We had Alton Clark, JP Clark, Natalie Clark. So me, I'm Alton Clark. JP wasn't there that day. JP was with Doc Rivers with the Clippers all the way up until last week. I'm not sure what he's doing now. I hope he lands on his feet. Okay. And then Natalie Clark, she's like, she played there and stuff like that. So I'm talking to Natalie one day. She's like, well, what are you trying to do? I'm like, man, I was going to coach high school. I was supposed to be a GA. That didn't happen. She's like, well, have you heard of Montverde Academy? I said, no, I haven't. She's like, well, that's why I went to school. I can connect you with the coach, Kevin Sutton. I was like, okay, whatever. I lived in Winter Park. Anybody knows anything about Orlando? Montverde is far, okay? It's in Orlando, but it ain't close. And so I drove that 45 minutes on them toll roads all the way out. I'm like, yo, where the hell am I going? So then I get out there, and when I walk into Sutton's office, Nate James is there from Duke, Kirk Spearoff from University of Central Florida, Matt Doherty when he was at SMU, an assistant from LSU, and Sutton walks up and shakes my hand like if me and you saw each other right now, like he knew me. I'm like, what's up with this dude? So I sit there like in the meeting, and he just embraced me and just took me in because I was young, I was hungry, I was willing to work for free, and this is when Twitter started popping. So I was introducing him to Twitter. And this year in Montverde, this is 2009, 2010. And so we had James Bell, we had Jamel Jones, we had Hawk Paulson, a lot of D1 guys. And we were preseason, I think ESPN had us number 12. So this was a big year for Montverde. Austin Rivers was a junior in Orlando, so it was like a big time for Orlando basketball. And we had a great season. And we went 25-5. We lost to Finley Prep in the national championship game on ESPN. But Sutton, besides my dad, and I have told them this, no other man has had more of an impact on my life. Like, I went from being an outsider in the basketball world to now everybody who thought of him thought of me. And he would get coaches, because you know how college coaches are. So they'll call just to talk about nothing. He would hand me the phone. Here, talk to him, right? And kind of piss them off, but giving me the experience at the exact same time.
That's right.
So when I got my master's and I was done, through relationships, Paul Biancardi at ESPN, he helped me out, and he got me in touch with Kyle Getter, who was the ops guy at VCU, and I got on as a graduate assistant at VCU under Shaka. They went to the Final Four April 2011. I got there in May 2011. So I got to experience all that for a summer, and then we were about to start school, and Cliff Warren, who's the head coach at Jacksonville at the time,
I know Cliff.
So me and him had developed a relationship. And he was like, hey, my ops guy's about to coach high school. Do you want to be the ops guy? I was like, yeah, I want to be the ops guy. I want to be back in school. So I moved back down to Jacksonville. I coached in Jacksonville for that year. Then I moved back home and I coached AAU and all that. But after that's just kind of like the general breakdown. But then after that, I got burnt out. And the reason I got burnt out is because in basketball, you can't control your own career. It's about who's going to get fired. And it makes you envious. It makes you anxious. It makes you wish for other people's downfall. Like, it got to the point when the season would start, I would look at like, okay, what coach has been at their school 4 or 5 years? What's been their record the past 2-3 years? Who's the AD? Is it a new AD? This job is likely to be open. Who coached there, who played there, who knows him. So I would start calling that video guy, that ops guy, that assistant guy before the season even started. It's like you're plotting on other coaches. And I'm like, man, I don't want to do this. Like, I don't like how this is set up. And then I kept seeing assistant coaches who were 20 years my seniors at the time. I was 25, 26. So guys that are 45, 46, and they weren't happy. Like, they weren't happy. And so many of them kept telling me like, yo, get you a good high school job and just lock in. I don't want to coach high school. Like, bro, I am telling you. I just kept seeing, I'm like, man, I got to find my own way. And so after that, I decided, you know what, I'm going to just be an entrepreneur.
So wait a minute, Dorian. And for the younger viewers, because we get some younger people on here, I want you all to consider these three things that he said. He went to Wikipedia and looked up every school in D1 and D2 and reached out to them, young people. He also was willing to work for free to get in the area that he wanted to get into. That's called desire. That's drive. The third thing is that when he was in the situation, he realized that this wasn't for him. So he didn't keep trying to push the circle into the square peg. He figured it out. Okay. So I want you our younger viewers, I want you to pay attention to Dorian. He's dropping some serious gems here, like he does on his YouTube and IG channels every day. That's why I wanted to bring him on. So y'all understand now, right? So Dorian, tell me, what's the connection with you? You kind of mentioned it. You mentioned being in Dayton and the Gap, not the Gap.
Gap Band, Lakeside, Boosie, all of them.
Ohio players,
yep.
All of them, man. That was the basis of funk, in my opinion. That's what funk kind of got started was Dayton. Was that always in you? Was the music in you, or did it kind of evolve with you figuring out that college basketball wasn't your space?
It was an interesting thing because being from the Midwest, specifically like growing up in Dayton and especially Indianapolis, being a musician just isn't real for us. Like, especially being in that. Like I said, I can give you a list of 50 people that I know personally who have played basketball for money. I can't give you a name. Well, now I can, but growing up, I couldn't give you a name of one person who had performed a show and sold it out for 200 people or who made money for their music. So it just wasn't real. And like the great thing about me and my parents was like, so y'all had like what y'all say the original funk, but this is the early 90s. So what I had G-Funk, I had Dr. Dre, I had Snoop Dogg. So my dad's mad because they're using y'all records and sampling. I'm like, Daddy, this sounds good, man. and so I didn't realize at that time the seeds that Dre and Cube and all these people, even though it was an edited version, that they were planting in me. And then in 4th and 5th grade, I played the trumpet. 6th and 7th grade, I played the drums because I didn't want to be in class. And then from 8th grade until my senior year of high school, I sang in my church choir. But I just did that just to do it. It wasn't real. So once all the basketball stuff happened, and I'm like, you know what? I got to get out of this. I took a job with a company called Stats, and they're based in Chicago.
Yep. And
yeah, Sport View, Stats, whatever. I don't know if that's the same name now. So for those that don't know, what we did was basically at the time, the NBA had installed 6 cameras at the top of every arena. And they took the Israeli government's technology to track all 10 players, all 3 refs, the ball, and everything. And so you can get these advanced, nerdy stats that you see now, like when LeBron runs at a 47-degree angle at 8 miles per hour, he's shooting 38% from the 15-foot or something like that. So they were doing all that. Okay, so our job was to make sure that the tracking stayed on top of the players and the ball and the ref. It was the worst job that I ever had. I went in at 10 p.m., I got off at 6 a.m. It was awful. But the great thing about it was while I was doing that, I could watch or listen to whatever I wanted to on the other screen, right? So I'm watching YouTube, I'm listening to Spotify, etc. And I just start studying billionaires and millionaires and looking at like, how did they get started? And everybody essentially was an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. And everybody who was my age or who was Black, right, either came for sports, entertainment, or tech. Already had just sports, not doing that again. Tech, the barrier of entry was too high. I didn't know how to code. I didn't know how to raise capital. So I'm like, music, I'm like, you know, I've always been able to write, always been able to rap a little bit. I know how to play music. So what I did is I didn't pay my rent one month, and I won't suggest anybody doing this. I didn't pay my rent one month. I took my tax check. I bought a MacBook Pro. I bought the beat production software called Logic. Mm-hmm. And it was one of the worst. I was living in Chicago. It's one of the worst winters ever. It's like the 3rd snowiest winter ever. And I lived like 2 blocks from the lake. It was terrible. Yeah. And I literally locked myself in my apartment, my studio apartment, for like 4 or 5 months. I didn't go out. I didn't do nothing except go to work, come home. And I taught myself how to make beats from YouTube.
Wow.
And there's like all these videos about the music business and music business courses. I just did all that. And then once I did that, that gave me this bug and this desire, because I'm like, if I could teach myself this, I could teach myself about masters, about publishing, about royalties, about marketing. And that just kind of made everything start going after that.
So Dorian, like, I remember seeing a video, you were talking about your upbringing and how you came up. And there was a time when you just started writing rhymes. Yeah. You started writing music. How did that come about? Was it always there and you were just kind of pushing it down because you were in basketball, or how did you manage to manifest that coming from you?
Yeah, it was always in me, but like I said, and like you just said, because of basketball, I was pushing it down. Okay. But divine intervention. So it was around this time when I was working at that terrible job. It was around the holidays, and my mom had sent me a box of plates to my door, and I didn't realize how heavy it was. So I bent down to pick it up, and my back went out. Like my lower back went out. So I crawled to the couch. The couch was probably 8 feet away from the door. It took like 15 minutes to cross the couch. So now I'm on the couch, and I'm just out, and I fall asleep. This is a weird story, but I fall asleep. When I fall asleep, I'm dreaming, and I'm in a car, and I'm on this mountain. And it's dark, it's probably about 50 degrees, and it had just rained, but it wasn't slippery, but you could hear the rubber on the road, like kind of like that sound. Yeah. And I had my windows down. And as I had my window down, I'm driving, I hear Ambitions as a Rider, like loud, like super loud, like God was playing it from his speakers. I'm like, why is this music so loud? And as I'm driving, coming the other direction is another car with their lights bright, and I look driving, and it's Tupac. And Tupac's coming, and I'm coming this way, and Tupac's coming, and Tupac swerves in my lane and is about to hit me. Now, I'm on this mountain, so I can either go right, and I can fall off, or I can go left, and I can just go right into Tupac. Wow. So I just start driving. I'm like, you know what? I'm about to hit Tupac, whatever. And right before he's about to hit me, he swerves off. And he rolls the window down, and you've seen that classic Tupac photo where he's out the window spitting, you know what I'm saying? Like, stay in your lane, and it just rolls off. And I wake up. I'm like, why is Tupac trying to kill me? And so after that, man, I started like really having all these memories I hadn't had in a long time about my 4th grade music teacher. Wow. Seeing numbers and seeing notes. And at the time, like J. Cole and Kendrick were really big, and they're my age. And so I'm like really studying all this. I'm like, all these things that I've had inside of me that I just put down, it was all starting to come up, right? And so I was like, you know what? God is putting this in me right now for some reason. I need to just start writing music, and the lyrics just started just like flowing out.
Wow. So from the time when you made the decision to the time that you got your first project done, how long was that?
I say I got serious on February 14th, 2014, because that's when I bought the software. And my album, The Duct Tape, the very first album, if you see it, don't go listen to it. It's terrible. It came out February 14th, 2015. So it was exactly 1 year. And when I say I started from scratch, bro, I didn't know how to connect the mic. I didn't know how to plug in the computer to the interface. I didn't know how to do nothing. And a year later, I had 10 songs done. I found a studio. I'm yelling, trying to be Ice Cube, just doing too much. So it took about a year for me to figure out how to do everything.
That's amazing. So again, young viewers, you hear what he's saying. He had a job from 10 to 6. He could do his job, but he had downtime. And he invested the downtime in learning what he needed to learn. Keep your ears open now. He's dropping dimes here. So when you get the first project done, and like anything, Dorian, as an entrepreneur, when you do anything, you just do it wrong the first time to get it out.
Yeah.
You just got to get it out. What was what was your biggest inspiration from the first project to where you are now? Because it seems like, Dorian, you got this thing mastered, from the marketing to the YouTube videos to the IG videos to your templates that you use. Mm-hmm. I mean, what happened between that first project to now to get you to where you are now?
Well, the first project, I got slandered to oblivion by everybody. Everybody would say it was the worst thing they ever heard. Like, cause on social media, people just don't care. They just don't care. You know what I mean? I posted a clip on my IG about Dave Chappelle when he got booed at the Apollo. And he said the exact same thing that I felt. He said, how can y'all be so mean at a kid going after his dreams? That's how I felt. But the thing was, like, I realized I hadn't studied songwriting like that. And what I was doing, I was trying to give a message without trying to really make music. Like I was essentially writing poems, putting a round peg inside a square hole. That's what I was trying to do.
Gotcha.
So what I did, I said, you know what? I'm gonna just find a beat and just do what the beat tells me to do. If it's not lyrical, whatever. And so I found this beat, and it's for my song called Sunshine. And I wrote that song in like 15 minutes, and I released it, and I was nervous because I didn't want to get talked about again. And a lot of people liked it, like a whole lot of people liked it. I was like, I can do that all day. That's easy. And so my homeboy, I always shout him out. His name's David Gibson. This was March 2015. And Periscope, which is a live streaming platform owned by Twitter, had just dropped. And he was like, Duck, you need to get on Periscope. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm on SoundCloud. I'm on the mixtape websites. I'm on the blogs. He said, no, you need to get on Periscope. So I didn't listen. And so we're at his rehearsal dinner he getting married. He pulls this aside. He's like, you need to get on Periscope. And then he pulls it out and he shows me. And I'm like, yo, people are really engaging. This is like a thing. And so I went live on Periscope for the first time. I was talking like motivational, telling my background, whatever. And so, and at the end, I was like, hey, I got an album, The Duct Tape. You like it, go listen to it, man, go buy it. And I went live the next day. And Shay6363, I'll never forget, I'm talking in my live, and she's like, I bought your album. And I'm thinking she's talking to somebody else. Because don't nobody buy my music. Like, everybody hates my music. Don't nobody buy it. And so she says, Dorian, I bought your album. I'm like, what album? I was like, The Duct Tape. She said, yeah, you said buy it, so I bought it. I'm like, this can get people to buy music? And so now the light went off. Because I'm like, social media is where it's at if you're using it right. Because I didn't want to use Instagram. I didn't want to be one of those rappers stunting with money. That's not me. You know what I mean? And I didn't really like Facebook, Twitter. I felt like people misconstrue. But when you went live and you talked, you controlled the conversation, and people really dialed in. So what happened is I started going on Periscope every single day for like the next 2 years. I started trending on Periscope. I flew out to Periscope headquarters, which is Twitter, spoke to them about Periscope. I got up to like 26,000 followers. I became a Periscope VIP because I just kept making content, right? And I was making sure that my community was engaged. The Ducks, the Swans, the Pond. We would have like a SoundCloud music showcase every Sunday where I would let independent artists come on and we would play their song and we would vote for them. And so like I would tell them to invite their communities, which increased my engagement, which made me trend. And so all that stuff kept happening. And I realized like, yo, I'm like an early YouTube. This Periscope thing's about to take off. And Twitter just completely dropped the ball. They have no idea what they did. Yeah. And they just ruined it. And so I realized like, damn, I did all that, but I don't have their emails. I don't have their phone numbers. I don't have nothing. I got to start from scratch. And so that's when I really started studying social media marketing. And I started studying, okay, you got to have a website. You got to get the email. You got to have Facebook Pixel. Like you got to be on multiple platforms that you are comfortable with. And then once I came over to Instagram, because I had trained on Periscope for 2 years, and I'm going live. So I'm going live talking for like an hour a day. So I'm getting talked about. I got to think on my feet, like all that.
Okay.
Once I got the IG, I knew what worked. I knew who would buy something and who wouldn't. I knew who was a troll and who wasn't. Like I knew who I could convert from a hater to a fan. And then I started studying like the psychology of colors. I'm in the music business. The first thing everybody thinks about is TLC, Tony Braxton, get ripped off, scams. That's all everybody think about. Yep. So what color represents trust? Blue. Okay, Group 82, we got to be blue. When you go to my feed, there's a lot of blue on there, right? Yep. I have a bold personality. I have a strong personality. We need strong, bold font. So when you're scrolling through, you can see it. It just stands out. And that's why our thumbnails on YouTube and Instagram have worked so well. Yep. And so I started doing all that, tinkering with what worked, what didn't. And then once I finally found a formula, I just tripled down on it. And I started making so much content over and over and over again. And then that's how things kind of blew, where it went from no followers. I think on Instagram I'm at like 40,000. And then YouTube, we've gained like 20,000 this month. So.
You know, Dorian, and give me your YouTube and IG handle so people can go on and check you out. Where are you on YouTube and IG?
At Dorian Group 82. So the company is Group 82. So Dorian Group 82.
And ladies and gentlemen, Dorian does a fantastic job of breaking down the business, the music business. And you've got a mission to help independent artists achieve what you're able to achieve. Where does that passion come from, Dorian?
Basketball, being in the world of college basketball, and I'm just going to talk frank here, and your audience gets mad. College basketball, NBA basketball is racist, it's sexist, it's there's a lot of nepotism, and there's so many times that they kept moving the goalposts for me, right? You're not around elite talent. I went to Mount Berg. You don't have a big cosign. I'm under Kevin Sutton. You haven't coached college basketball. I'm at VCU under Shaka Smart. You don't have video experience. I did all that when I was at Jacksonville. You haven't worked in the NBA. So I started writing for ESPN True Hoop Network, NBAplaybook.com. I started breaking down sets and all that. They kept moving the damn goalposts. And then I'll never forget. So this is after I had my master's, 28 years old. After my whole basketball career, I've coached all these places. I'm like, I'm going to give this one more shot. And I applied for the Austin Toros at the time, G League basketball operations internship. It was like $5.50 an hour. And like thousands of people applied to these jobs. And so I made to a final 10 easy, because my resume is above everybody's.
Right.
I was a college coach. And I get down to the final 2. And I'm talking to them, and they're like, yo, Taylor Jenkins, who's the coach now, whatever. So
Memphis, right?
Yeah, exactly. He's like, man, we like you a lot, etc. Boom, it's between you and another guy. We'll let you know. I'm like, okay, cool. And so they called me 2 days later, like, hey, Alton, we really like you, man, and we think that you're gonna be great, but we're gonna go with the other guy. And I'm just sitting, I'm like, I used to didn't ask, but this time I did. I said, keep it real with me, man. Like, I got everything on my resume you could possibly want for an entry-level G League basketball operations internship. Why not get this shot? He said, to be honest, he said the other guy had NBA experience. I said, so let me get this straight.
What?
To get an entry-level G League internship, I got to have NBA experience? He said, yeah. And I said some stuff, and then I hung up the phone. And it's just like, y'all gonna keep moving the goalposts.
Yep.
I'm like, I gotta take control of my career. And when you in the music business, yeah, Sony, Warner, Universal, they got all the big artists. But you can develop your own team and your own league. Like, I couldn't start my own school. I couldn't start my own NBA team. So, but in the music business, you actually can. And it might take a while, but you keep all the money. And then once I started really studying the music business and these contracts of the people that we were just talking about, all those funk bands, they don't own their music, right? The early Snoop, early Dre, early Q, a lot of their music they don't own. Right. And you look at people now that don't own their music, and you see these black artists who have been making money, billions and billions of dollars, and they broke, they have nothing because they're signing these bad deals, these business deals where you have a product we like, we're gonna buy it from you so we can market it and build it bigger, but we're gonna charge you for every single marketing dollar that we spend on you. And then you gotta pay us back with your record, with your record sales. That makes no sense. That's like going to Shark Tank and you got like a special towel, right? It absorbs sweat from 6 feet away. And Mark Cuban loves it. And we're gonna put it in the Mavs arena. He's gonna invest 10% for $100,000. And then once you meet with Mark, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna put it inside of the Mavs arena, but you gotta pay for that. It's your arena. What you talking about? I'm not paying for that. You own part of the company. Right. But in the music business, that's how it is. And so I just kept seeing it. I'm like, we don't need this. We don't need them. We don't need them like that. Like, they have helped some artists, but they have screwed over so many. And so I realized too, and me and you talked about it before we went on air, how many artists don't know about the business like that. And there hasn't been anybody on the internet who is speaking to them in a language that they understand. Like, when you Google music business experts and stuff, they all look a certain way, they all talk a certain way, and they got one foot in the industry and then they out. I'm not in the industry, right? I got my own business. I'm black, and when you go to my social media, you see what I'm about real quick. and so I know that I'm speaking to people in a language that they understand, and that's where all that passion comes from, because people just don't need to be getting ripped off, man. I got tired of that happening to me, and I don't want that to happen to nobody else.
No, Dorian, I love it because, my background is basketball and media, and I'm trying to get some things going in that area, but I'm learning so much by watching your videos and how things are structured. And I wanted to ask you this because I've got a business partner on a project, and he was so hyped when Kanye West tweeted his universal contract. He said, Stephen, the game is changed now. He said when that kind of language is out there for everybody to see, that will change the game. And I guess other artists followed him in putting up their contracts to let people see and say, hey, can you give me feedback? And oh, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, Elon Musk got back to Kanye and told him that you had a bad deal. What are your thoughts on that, Dorian?
First of all, Kanye's from the Midwest. Y'all know how we get down. And so, like, he was tired of people getting screwed over. Kanye is one of the most legendary artists. You can say whatever you want about him politically, his personality, his personal life. His music is legendary.
I agree.
And it defines a generation. It's going to live on forever. You cannot watch any network television show, commercial or regular programming, and you won't hear a Kanye West song. You're going to hear one of them. And so he didn't own his own music. This man's a producer. This man's a rapper. He didn't own any of that. He made all his money outside of music. So now he's kind of like in a situation I'm in, not comparing myself to him, but like he doesn't care if Universal doesn't like him. He doesn't care if he gets sued. He has the power. I make my money from Yeezys. I don't need y'all no more. And I'm going to use my power to speak out for other people. No other major artist this big has ever done that. Most people had never seen a record deal before. Most people in other businesses had never seen one. And now they're seeing how bad that these contracts are. If a record industry wants to survive, it might not be for my generation, but the generation behind me, they're probably like their early 20s. They have every tool in front of them. YouTube, Instagram, Spotify, you can upload your music everywhere to market your music and not sign a bad record deal. There's no reason not to own your masters anymore. There's no reason not to own your publishing anymore. There's no reason not to get a royalty split where you get the lion's share. Because it's not like when you were younger, like those funk bands, like they had to perform in local talent shows, scrap up money, get a demo, and you get a trial for a record label, and then they took a chance on you. Right? Rappers had to go do freestyles on radio shows, or they had to know somebody. They took a chance on you. Ain't no chances no more. They looking at your followers. They looking at your engagement. They looking at your record sales, at your streams. You have to build your own business already. So why am I going to give you ownership? I've already done everything. And so what Kanye did, he just, like he's always done, he's taking the arrows for us, and it's going to open up the whole way. Like, but before Kanye, there wasn't this college rapper. Like you couldn't rap about college. You got to rap about being a gangster.
You're right.
But then he rapped about college dropout when I was a sophomore in college thinking about dropping out. And it just changed the game. And look at Drake. Look at J. Cole. Like these dudes wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Kanye. So ain't no telling what's going to happen after this for all the independent artists.
And so, Dorian, as your career blossoms, who is the artist that you'd like to collab with the most in the future, and why?
People ask me that, and as I keep going through this, man, coaching has really scored me. Because there was a lot of coaches I wanted to beat, I wanted to work for, and I beat they ass. Like, this dude's an asshole. I don't never want to talk to you again. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of like that with the music business. I'm like, I don't really know these dudes like that. So it's like, of course I got people that I like musically, but some dudes might try to take my publishing. They might talk to me crazy. Like, so there isn't nobody that's on my wish list. I just want my music to really get out there. And I would much rather like my brand build up, and then I'm able to bring in independent artists who follow me. And then we make some sort of like collaboration album or some group album where it's like a bunch of us who are independent artists. Then we can chart and go to the top of the charts, because you don't know these dudes. Right. And then you get in a room with them like, nah, I don't like you at all. Especially TV folks, not you. But there are some folks who are on TV that are one person, and then as soon as them cameras turn off, like, yo, what's up with this dude?
That's real. That's real talk. Let me see. Let me add, okay, I'm going to jump around a little bit here. Do you still play or coach the game?
I stopped playing because like I had like 4 friends that snapped their Achilles. So yep. I'm just scared. So I just lift, I run and all that. I'm not coaching right now because when I do something, I got to do it, especially when it comes to basketball. Like, I can't do it, right? Like once you've been around elite talent, I just can't. So I have a daughter and she's 1, so she wants to play. I don't know. I've never coached girls, but I might do that. but I don't. If like Chris Wilkes hits me up right now, he's like, hey, Duck, can we get a workout in? I'll work out Chris. Or like if Gary Trent Jr., he hits me up, I'll work him out. But if I don't know you, I'm not doing it.
Okay. All right. Where did the ducks, swans, and the pond? Talk about that a little bit.
So my nickname, I've been shouting them out too much. This is the last thing I'm going to shout them out. So two of my homeboys that I grew up with, Marshall McFadden and Sean Dickerson, they gave me the nickname Duck because they sounded like Kevin Duckworth. I was like 13 and we were hooping and I was killing. Marno, I was killing them. I was like, yo, Duckworth giving y'all buckets. And so North Central is a really, really big school. Like, I was a sophomore. Mm-hmm. And so Marshall and Sean got kind of loud voices. So they just call me Duckworth. And you know how black people are. They shorted to just Duck. Yeah. And it just kind of just took off when I was in high school. I was like, okay, that's going to be a high school thing. And I go to IU. And when I get to IU, my homeboy Biggs, who was my roommate, is like he's one of those loud Midwest dudes who like everybody knows. And he was Duck, Duck, Duck. Like, so he's introduced me to everybody as Duck. So they just kind of took off at IU too. And so when I started studying marketing, right, like I'm especially like women do this, like Nicki, she has the Barbs, Justin Bieber, he has the Believers. And I was looking at like Drake, he has the owls, and you just see all this symbolism and stuff. Yep. And I started looking up what the duck is. And the duck is the only animal in the animal kingdom that can run on land, swim on water, and fly in the sky. And I'm like, when it comes to achievement in life, you have to adapt to the terrain. If you gotta swim, you gotta swim. You gotta run, you gotta run. You gotta fly, you gotta fly. I'm like, man, that's dope. And like one time when we were in college, everybody was drunk. And I got dressed up because we were going out. And I walked into the room and one of my homeboys, Isaac, he was like, look at Duck. Look at them hard vibes. I see you, bro. You're not Duck tonight. You are Swan. My man, like a beautiful swan. And everybody laughed for like 10 minutes. It wasn't even that damn funny. They just kept laughing. And so, but that stuck with me too. So like, I call my male fans ducks. I call my female fans swans, and they live inside of the pond, and that's the community. So.
No, man, I love that. So wait a minute, a duck is the only animal in the world that can swim, run on the ground, and fly.
If my research is right at that time, yes.
Wow, that's dope, man. I did not know that. Thank you for that. Bit of information. I'm definitely going to use that. Let me ask you this. What is the craziest college basketball story you can share with us that you have?
Craziest college basketball story that I can share. Obviously can't give no names. I'll just say this, man. Like what you see on TV and what you see with these coaches, that's not who they truly are, right? And if you have a son, you got a nephew, you got a daughter, and when that coach comes sees them play, you're going to be super, super excited. But you need to do research on who these people truly are. You need to ask the coaches who no longer work for them who they truly are. You need to ask the players who transfer who they truly are. You need to go and really kick it and see who these folks are. Because there's been a lot of times, man, people that I loved from a distance, and we get workouts with them, and I'm just hearing some of the stuff they say to the players. And don't get me wrong. Like, I've said some stuff. I'm like, yo, that's just flat out just like disrespectful. You know what I mean? And it's just like, you really have to understand who these people are. And a lot of coaches, if you're a college basketball coach, you're essentially an entrepreneur. Like you're a CEO. Everything comes through you, yep. And you have to be able to have a pulse on the culture, on the finances, on everything. And a lot of these coaches are idiots. Like, dumb. Like, there's a D1 coach I'm thinking of right now. I don't know how he has a D1 job. He is a flat-out idiot. Like, I'm not exaggerating. And so, parents, teachers, counselors, do your research on these coaches. And if you ask enough people, you'll eventually find out what's real. So, I was thinking of a lot of stories, but I don't want to put folks out there.
All right.
I got to cuss them out.
No, because your answer, Dorian, because we do have parents on here who have kids who are playing high school and college basketball. That's perfect because I'm not sure that they get that advice to go do research on who the guy or the lady really is, not what they do when they come into your living room and they've got their sales pitch or not what you see on stuff that they're able to edit and promote, but who these people truly are. Because when you turn your children over to them and you don't know the kind of psychological things that are going on, which were common when I was in school, it was common among college coaches to treat guys a certain way and have a certain mindset that wasn't necessarily positive. So I appreciate your response there. If you were, I'm gonna leave you with this question. I'll ask you another music question. We'll wrap up. But if you were commissioner of college basketball and you can improve the game with a ruling or two, what would that be?
I would make the game uniform across the board. If you look at our middle school game, our A game, our high school game, our college game, our NBA game, it's 5 different games. That's just stupid. When you watch football, the field is, no matter if you're playing middle school football or pro football, the rules are pretty much the same outside of college. It needs to be a uniform game across the board. It needs to be a shot clock. Like, college basketball players are NBA players enough. Like, all of them won't play, but you have the ability to play the NBA game. Right?
I agree.
So it needs to have the same feet, the legal defense rules, the shot clock. Everything needs to be the exact same. So I would make the game exactly the same, because when you look at a guy like Luka, right? Like, people are surprised that he's having the success that he's had. He's been playing pro basketball since he was 14. He ain't play all them extra stupid games, right? LaMelo Ball, who I hope is the number 1 pick for a myriad of reasons, so LeVar could just go crazy. But when you look at LaMelo Ball when he was a freshman at Chino Hills, and you look at him now, if you watched him when he was a freshman, there was no way he was going to be the number 1 overall pick. No way. He went to Lithuania. He set the bench. He understood, oh, this pro basketball can be terrible. Came back home, played at Spire. Then he went to Australia, and then he killed it. He's been playing against grown men for like the past 3 years. So now once he gets to the league, he's going to be ready. So college basketball needs to absolutely mimic the NBA, and they got to pay him. Like, they absolutely got to pay him, whether they put the account, the money in the escrow, likeness, royalties. I don't know, but they got to figure it out, because coaches pay, okay? I've been offered money for players, all right? Like, this is real.
No, that's what it is. That's what it is.
Like, when I was at all types of places, I've been offered money. I've been offered jobs. I've been offered all types of stuff. Like, it is prostitution. And these dudes who you think are on the player side, these AAU coaches, they ready to sell your kids like a prostitute. And that's another thing too. Like, you got to be conscious of who you put around them. Like, if you start hearing rumors, it's probably true, right? Go do your research. But if this coach is offering this, offering that, ooty woo, he'll do the same thing to your son. And another thing that I would do too is, when these kids transfer, ain't no sitting out. Ain't no sitting out for no transfer. Because when the coaches leave, and they do it all the time, or when the coaches kick them off because they're not playing good enough, they say it's academic reasons or disciplinary reasons. No, you over-recruited him. He should have been at Jacksonville, and you brought him to Florida. No offense to any of them. Like, they got to change that too. I shouldn't have to sit out because my coach is an asshole. I should have to. You know what I mean? Like, if you leave a job, you are not unemployed for a year. So why does he have to do that? So all that, I could go on for days about college basketball, man.
We might have to have another show on that. Lastly, Dorian, where do you see your music going, and where do you want it to go? Like, this Dorian Group 82, man, is fantastic. I'm getting a ton of value from watching your videos and learning the information that you impart. You've got all these services for musicians and people wanting to do marketing. Where do you see, where do you want to go, and where do you see it going?
So I want to make it a lot more broad. We get a lot of people like yourself, real estate, chefs, fitness people that have reached out to me like, yo, I'm not even in the music business, but I like your content. Yep. And so I'm going to start making a lot more videos that are a lot more broad. And I just really want us to get to the point where we're a full-blown digital marketing agency. And I really want to find ways that we can empower our independent artists. And with me, what I did with basketball was I let basketball break my heart, because I used it as my primary source of income, and other people had control over that. So it kind of scorned me from basketball. I don't love it like I used to. And that's sad, because it kind of took away a piece of my childhood. Sure. I'm very protective of my music. I don't pit my music out. I don't have to make money from my music to feed my family. So I want to keep my music like that. So whatever happens with the music happens. But with the business, like I want to be a digital marketing agency, and I want anybody who's an entrepreneur, who's an independent artist, who wants to start their own thing, that they can come to us and we give it to them real. Like a lot of people out here, they damn preachers disguised as entrepreneurs, and they're selling you hope. Their package is $10,000 worth of hope, right? My arts don't even cost that much. It ain't hope. It is practical skills. And it's stuff you can apply today to make money. Here, I'm gonna give your audience this, right? If anybody wants to make money on social media right now, this is what you need to do. So every genre, basketball, music, whatever, they have these highlight accounts. They have these meme accounts, right? If you build your meme account big enough to like maybe 50,000, 60,000 followers, people will start paying you for sponsorships, for posts, to put that stuff on there. So what you need to do, let's say that you want to go into basketball media or whatnot. If you can start taking up highlights, the top highlights from House of Highlights, the top highlights from Hoop Mixtape, the top highlights from Ball's Life, and you start aggregating them on your account. And if you want to put some analysis on it, whatever, just take their top 20 videos that have the most views. You don't have to take the ones that suck. Take the ones that have already worked. Mm-hmm. Take the hits, okay? Take the number ones. Put those videos on your account. Post every single day for the next 60 days, because you got 20 from Hoop Mixtape, 20 from Ball's Life, 20 from whomever. Mm-hmm. Post every single day for the next 60 days. You will see your account grow organically because the content already works. Your audience is going to start coming to you. You are consistent every single day. They'll start sharing, and your account will start growing. Respond to every comment. Respond to every DM. Share. Pin comments. Tag people. Do all that stuff. And I promise you, if you do that for 60 days, now you'll have a blueprint of your account. If you take that same blueprint, double down for another 60 days, I'm telling you, somebody's going to hit you up like, hey, man, can I post on your account for $200? Can I post on your account for $500? Right? And now if you're somebody who's like, one thing I haven't seen is what I do, but for basketball. This is an idea I have, Bardo. Like, okay, I want to really break down sets. I really want to break down plays. And all these podcasts going on right now, JJ Redick and Carmelo. JJ Redick interviewed Carmelo. It's like some heavy NBA terminology, basketball stuff on there. Like if somebody would take those clips and add the plays to it and give their analysis, you have every coach in America eating out of the palm of your hand. Every high school coach, every girls coach, every NBA coach, college coach, because nobody else on social media is actually doing that I've seen, you know what I mean, that has the experience. So it's just about consistently giving people value. If you build an account that gives people value every single day, the money will come.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dorian is dropping $1 million worth of game on y'all for nothing, right there. And this is straight up. I've already invested with Dorian because I'm trying to figure out how to do my stuff better based on those same real estate people, the people in different industries that are approaching Dorian, because we all see something that his marketing and the way that he's dropping knowledge and science and the templates and everything. I knew, Dorian, you had your stuff together. I really appreciate you coming on today, man. Shout out where people can find you once again so we can support you.
Dorian Group 82 on all platforms, on Facebook, on Instagram, and Twitter. You know why I did this podcast? When I was coaching, I had had this scouting. It was the scouting reports. Was it the '88 draft? Which draft were you?
I was 90.
90. So it was a 1990 draft. I don't know how I got it. And I saw you in there, Stephen Bardo. Yeah. And I took a picture of it and I put it on Twitter and I at you. It was probably 800 followers I had, and you wrote me back. Nobody usually writes back, but going back to what I was just saying about the comments, about the DMs, you wrote me back and you reposted to your whole audience. And I remember that. I was like, this is a real dude from the Midwest. So that's why I'm on here today, man. So I appreciate you doing that 10 years ago, and look at life, full circle.
Isn't that something? Thank you, Dorian. I appreciate you, brother, for everything, all your wisdom. Best of luck in the music career as you blossom and your business career as well. Thanks a lot for joining today.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, y'all, that'll do it for this edition of Bardo's Breakdown. Check back with us. We always have dope interviews like these, and we're going to be talking NBA Finals. So y'all know what it is. Until next time, y'all. Peace.